You've probably seen these everywhere lately. AI time travel videos that drop you into the past like it's found footage. This Jack the Ripper one's been blowing up. So I set myself a challenge. Could I make one of these start to finish on my own machine without paying for a thing? Free and local tools only. But I didn't want to copy, so instead of a screaming, panicked POV, mine's narrated by someone calm, a watcher who's seen it all before. And I didn't invent a story either. This one's real. The first woman ever executed for witchcraft in Wales, back in 1594. Her name was Gwen. You wouldn't have noticed me. People rarely do. I was standing at the edge of the road into the Vale of Clwyd on an evening in the autumn of 1594, watching the smoke rise off the cottages and go grey against a greyer sky. It was a cold year, a frightened one, and in a few weeks' time, in the square at Denbigh, they were going to hang a woman for the crime of being useful. Her name was Gwen. Gwen, daughter of Ellis. She was born not far from here, in Llandyrnog, and she had lived the kind of life the records almost never keep. A spinner of yarn, a widow twice over, a woman in her 40s with no children and no man to speak for her. None of that is what they remembered her for. They remembered her for her hands. Come with me. She's still alive this evening. The fire is lit. For 10 years, Gwen had healed the people of these valleys. Salves for a burn, a plaster for a wound that wouldn't close, a drink for a fever, a word for a pain that had no name, and charms. Yes, charms. She never hid it. When they asked her, later, whether she'd use charming to help or harm man or beast, she didn't flinch. She said yes. She had healed with them for 10 years. She had learned it from her own sister. That is the thing you have to understand about Gwen ferch Ellis. There was no secret. In a country with almost no witch trials at all, Wales would execute only 5 people for it, ever. A woman like her was simply the village remedy, until the year the country needed someone to blame. It began with a piece of paper. A written charm found in the parlour of a great house, Glodaith, the home of Thomas Mostyn. Mostyn was gentry, the sort of man whose discomfort becomes everyone's business. And the charm, they said, had been written backwards, a prayer turned the wrong way round. To a frightened mind, that is not medicine. That is a threat. Whether Gwen ever wrote it, no one could truly say. The charm itself never even appeared at her trial. It didn't need to. It had already done its work, the way a whisper does, long after the mouth that made it has closed. There was a grievance in it somewhere. There usually is. A woman of standing who wanted Gwen gone. And once a powerful house decides a thing, the valley arranges itself to agree. After that, everything Gwen had ever done was read again in a darker light. A man's arm had broken, she had bewitched it. A woman had lost the use of her limbs, Gwen's doing. A man had died, murder by witchcraft. The salves were forgotten, the fevers she'd cooled, the nights she'd sat up, all forgotten. They even spoke of a familiar, a spirit kept close. 7 of her neighbours would stand and swear against her. 7 people she had very likely helped. I have watched this happen in a great many places, in a great many years. It always wears the same face. It is never really about the charm. They took her to be tried before the court. And here is the part I want you to keep. Gwen did not weep and she did not grovel. She stood, a spinner of yarn with no one behind her, and she answered them plainly. She admitted the healing, she admitted the charms, she denied the harm, because there had been none. She defended herself bravely against men who had decided the ending before she opened her mouth. It was not enough. It was never going to be enough. They found her guilty, and the law of the land had only one sentence to give. So we come to the square. Denbigh, an October morning. Overcast, grey as ash, with that cold weight in the air this country knows so well. There is a gallows where one day the town will build a library. Books, in the end, on the very ground where they silenced a woman for what she knew. She was 42. She was the first person in all of Wales recorded to be executed as a witch. 4 more would follow across 60 years, and then it would stop, almost as if the country itself had been ashamed. 5 lives. Gwen's was the first of the 5, and the only thing she had ever truly been guilty of was knowing how to make people well. You wouldn't have noticed me that evening on the road, but I noticed her, and now you have too. Her name was Gwen, daughter of Ellis. Say it once before you sleep. That is all the remembering she ever asked for.